Hello everyone, you are welcome in the third experiment in this semester, titled as Perkin Condensation to prepare cinnamic acid. A principle for this experiment includes condensation between aromatic aldehydes with anhydrides, the presence of the alkali salt of same carboxylic acid which derives from to produce alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acid with a small atom of acetic acid. As an example, to declare this condensation, here we have a benzaldehyde as aromatic aldehyde with acetic anhydride in the presence of potassium acetate or sodium acetate will produce cinnamic acid and acetic acid. The most important note in this reaction, we have to use alkali base, potassium acetate or sodium acetate as an example, similar to the anhydride which used in this experiment. For example, if we used acetic anhydride which contains acetyl group, so we have to use acetate salt or acetate part. If there is CH3CH2 in this anhydride, we have to use also CH3CH2 COOK or sodium. So whatever we have anhydride as a starting material number 2, we have to use same alkali salt which with same carbon atom. Both of them should be derivatives from same carboxylic acid. Now, the product in this reaction contain double bond. As you know, in any double bond there is two conformation or information in a product or in the structure. Cinnamic acid found as cis and trans because there is double bond, so it's already usually we have cis or trans, but the product in Perkin condensation found only as a trans product. So that's why we call Perkin condensation as a specific reaction. If I asked you why Perkin condensation is a specific reaction, because the cinnamic acid which produced from this reaction found as only a trans formation without any cis. Now, some notes that important in this reaction: the benzaldehyde should be free from benzoic acid. It means we have to use pure benzaldehyde, pure starting material. So if there is any benzoic acid with benzaldehyde at the bottle of reagent, we have to purify the starting material by distillation. Now, point number 2, note number 2, the sodium or the potassium acetate, the alkali salt which used in this reaction should be fused before using, should be heated by oven before using, to avoid losing starting materials. Why? Because if there is any moisture, any drops of H2O with this salt, so this H2O will hydrolyze the starting material, the anhydride, because in any reaction, in any case, if we have anhydride with water. The water will hydrolyze the acetic anhydride, and this anhydride will dissociate to two molecules of acetic anhydrides. That means we will lose the starting material. So the condition for this reaction using reflex heating and with a dry condition, we have to be sure that there is no any traces of moisture or H2O in this reaction to avoid losing our starting material, losing our anhydride, because anhydride will hydrolyze if there is any moisture or any H2O in the atmosphere, or in the classes we would use it, or with any materials of the reaction. Now let's move to the procedure for this experiment. Page 8. You need round bottom flask. To this round bottom flask, add 5 ml of benzaldehyde as a starting material and 7 ml of acetic anhydride, starting material number 2, with 3 grams of sodium or potassium acetate, but crushed or fused or heated before using, without any traces of water. To this round bottom flask, add all this material, mix well, and connect this round bottom flask with the condenser, but without any water, even for condense. So connect your condenser with the calcium chloride tube. Round bottom flask with the materials, with the starting materials, connect with the condenser without any water. Then to this condenser connect calcium chloride tube. This is the calcium chloride tubes. We have here cotton and here cotton with calcium chloride, CaCl2 powder. This calcium chloride is a drying agent like MgSO4. So any moisture in the atmosphere will trap here, will prevent the moisture from the atmosphere to move inside our glasses, to avoid them, to prevent them to mix with the starting material. So all these glasses should be dry without washing, should be heated in the oven before using, and connected with the calcium chloride tube. This calcium chloride tube prevent the moisture to move inside our glasses, and then will hydrolyze the acetic anhydride. So after that, after mixing and connecting these glasses, these apparatus, then start reflex or start heating by using hot plate and oil bath or sand bath, whatever you have at the lab. If you have oil, so use oil. If you have sand, so use sand, and start heating for 1 hour at 160 Celsius. After 1 hour, rise the temperature of hot plate to about 170, 180 or till 200 Celsius for 3 hours. So the reflex will finish after 3 hours. Turn off the hot plate, pour the mixture of the round bottom flask to the conical with 25 ml of water. Then wash this round bottom flask with the remaining starting material by hot water and pour it on the conical flask. To this conical flask, which contains the mixture of the reaction, add saturated solution of sodium carbonate with shaking. Then, if you have any excess of benzaldehyde or unreacted benzaldehyde, we have to remove it by steam distillation of this mixture. If you have any solid material, then after distillation, cool the mixture of the reaction, filter by gravity filtration, and acidify or filtrate with concentrated hydrochloride, drop by drop with shaking until all the carbon dioxide CO2 evolved. Of course, the acidification of our mixture inside the hood with shaking. Then after that, cool the mixture and filter our final product, which is cinnamic acid, as a pure solid white material. Filter it, of course, by using Buchner. Wash this product by water to remove any traces of base or any salts or any another material like acetic acid. Then after drying the product, weigh the product and calculate the percentage of yield. Now, you have homework here from the procedure, and write the answer on a paper with your name, with your group, and give it to the assistant lecturer next week at the lab. The question is, in this step, we use sodium carbonate, saturated solution of sodium carbonate. We add it to the mixture. Now, the question is, why we cannot use NaOH, sodium hydroxide, in this step? Why we cannot use sodium hydroxide in this step in Perkin condensation? This is your homework. Why we use sodium carbonate and we cannot use sodium hydroxide, NaOH. Please deliver your answer next week. Now, we just remain with the mechanism of this reaction. Here we have the second starting material, which is acetic anhydride, and the alkali salt, which is potassium or sodium acetate. As you know, this carbonyl neighbored by alpha carbon, and this alpha carbon attached to acidic hydrogen. In the presence of alkali, this negative charge, this base will abstract the hydrogen to produce a nucleophile, carbanion. This carbanion will attack the starting material in this reaction, which is benzaldehyde, aromatic aldehyde. So the negative charge attack partially positive of the carbon of the carbonyl in the benzaldehyde to produce this intermediate. After rising the temperature, as we said in the procedure, This negative charge on the oxygen, located on the oxygen, and this negative charge cannot reform a double bond in this position because there is no good leaving group, so will attack same molecule, will attack another atom, another partially positive in same molecule. In this attack we call intra attack, attacking in same molecule. And of course this part behaviors like good living group. So after this rearrangement, negative charge will delocalize on this oxygen, and this part will attach directly to the carbon which attack with the aromatic ring. Now this is intermediate, contain negative charge, and we have 2 moles of the acetic anhydride, as we use 7 ml of acetic anhydride. So the negative charge on this part will attack partially positive on the carbon carbonyl in acetic anhydride, and this part is good leaving group, so this will move to give, this is intermediate, this intermediate. Now look at the structure of this intermediate. We have carbonyl group, which is electron withdrawing group, also attached to the alpha carbon, which contain 2 hydrogen. Of course both of them are acidic. In the presence of a base, this base will abstract alpha hydrogen, and this negative charge will located on the carbon to give us enol enolate or carbanion. This negative charge will reform a double bond at the position alpha beta, hence we have good leaving group in this position, the beta position. Now this material will give acetic anhydride, the other part will give cinema anhydride. So acetic acid produced from this position, from this part, from this material, and this part will convert to the cinema anhydride, alpha beta unsaturated anhydride. At the last step of workup in a procedure, we will add H2O. So H2O and anhydride. Of course this anhydride will hydrolyze to give cinnamic acid. So this part will give with H2O cinnamic acid, and this part with H2O will give another molecule of acetic acid. That's why we called Perkin condensation, because we release a small atom, a small molecules like acetic acid. So our final product, cinnamic acid, alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acid, and the small molecule which is acetic acid. We started with 2 mole of acetic anhydride, mole 1, mole second mole, and with benzaldehyde as aromatic aldehyde in the presence of potassium acetate, alkali salt. Now this is the mechanism of the Perkin condensation. I hope it clears. Please read it and try to drawing this mechanism. If you have any question about the principle of the mechanism at any steps, write your questions down and we will discuss it at the lab. Don't forget your homework. Bring your homework with you next week. The homework is why we cannot use sodium hydroxide NaOH instead of sodium carbonate in Perkin condensation. I hope the procedure is clear, mechanism and the general principle for this reaction. So, see you soon, inshallah.